Chapter 15. Redemption Bong. Mountain's footsteps echoed through the hallowed halls of Shady Pines Country Club, his heart pounding like a drumbeat in the silence of anticipation. Each step felt like a mile as he made his way to Mr. Jebediah Turnpike's corner office, with the weight of his impending interview bearing down on him, as if it were a cloak made of lead. And as he entered the opulent chamber, Mountain was met with the sight of Jebediah seated behind his cartoonishly large mahogany desk, his presence commanding the room like a mighty king surveying his vast domain. The air crackled with an unspoken tension, the atmosphere thick with the immense weight of Mountain's ambitions and aspirations. "Ah, Mr. Cap," Jebediah greeted, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the room like the roll of distantly approaching thunder. "Please take a seat." Mountain then sank into the plush leather chair opposite Jebediah, his nerves fluttering like a caged bird in a room with a low ceiling full of cats. He squared his shoulders and met Jebediah's steely gaze with a determined resolve, ready to face whatever conversational challenges were immediately ahead. As the interview initiated, Jebediah's questions began by probing deep into Mountain's golfing prowess and personal integrity. With each inquiry, Mountain felt the pressure mounting, his mind racing to find the perfect answers to satisfy the enigmatic club owner. Mountain aimed to come across to Jebediah as if he believed in the validity of a social contract that clearly favored those who descended from old money over normal folks like himself. "And what of your habits off of the golf course, Mr. Cap?" Jebediah inquired, his tone laced with more than just a hint of skepticism. "Do you indulge in any extracurricular activities that may compromise your judgment?" Mountain's breath then became caught in his throat, with the weight of Jebediah's scrutiny now bearing down on him like a lead yoke. He cleared his throat and then summoned all of the eloquence that he could possibly muster, determined, with a focused precision, to try and make a favorable impression. "Well, Mr. Turnpike," Mountain began, his voice steady despite the conflict raging within him, "while I may partake in the occasional libation or two, I assure you that my commitment to the game of golf remains both strong and unwavering." Jebediah then regarded Mountain with a measured gaze, his expression inscrutable as he processed Mountain's words, mannerisms, and facial expressions. Finally, after a moment or two of tense silence, he nodded slowly, with a glimmer of approval now flickering in his eyes. "Very well then, Mr. Cap," Jebediah conceded, his tone slightly softer than it was before. "Your dedication to the sport of golf is commendable, but remember, perception is reality in this world. It would behoove you to tread carefully, my good fellow." With the interview now concluded, Mountain made his way back home to Johnny's bachelor pad, his mind awash with a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. He was wrestling with the weight of Jebediah's absurd expectations, the burden of proving himself weighing heavily on his shoulders, as if it were a stone anchor dragging him down into the deepest of depths. As he settled into the familiar confines of Johnny Pulaski's living room, Mountain reached for the solace of Johnny's mighty 3-foot water bong, the fragrant smoke curling around him like a comforting embrace. He took a long, slow inhale, while savoring the taste of freedom on his lips, as he eagerly awaited Jebediah's decision. Mountain was starting to develop an almost sentimental attachment to this particular bong, that Johnny referred to affectionately as his dumpster bong, due to the unexpected location that he had procured it from. Mountain found it difficult to believe that anyone would ever throw away such a great bong. As Mountain reflected even further about what he liked about the bong, he also realized how much that he appreciated Johnny for replacing the water housed at the base of the bong with whiskey as well. Then, the shrill ring of the phone suddenly shattered the tranquil haze of smoke that enveloped him, jolting Mountain from his rather smoky reverie. With trembling hands, he answered the call, with his heart pounding in his chest like a drumbeat in the night. To both Mountain's relief and elation, Jebediah's voice crackled through the receiver, his words a mighty beacon of hope in the darkness of Mountain's poorly planned career path. "Mr. Cap," he intoned, his tone grave yet resolute, I believe that you do indeed have the potential to be a very valuable asset to Shady Pines, and the Club Pro job is yours, should you choose to accept it. The only perk that Mountain negotiated over and above Jebediah's initial offer was a $50 per week company-paid tab at the bar in the country club that he could use for food and drinks. Mountain, of course, would use it only for drinks, but did not think that he should share that minor detail with the boss at this juncture. As Mountain then basked in the glow of his newfound victory, a sense of triumph washed over him like a tidal wave, carrying him on a crest of euphoria. And as he accepted the offer with gratitude, his voice choked with emotion as he thanked Jebediah for the job opportunity. And as he hung up the telephone, a sense of exhilaration coursed through Mountain's veins, his spirit soaring on the wings of newfound success. From that day forward, he vowed to honor Jebediah's trust and prove himself worthy of the title bestowed upon him, one private, hidden puff at a time. From that point on, Mountain and Johnny would use a code name for smoking reefer that only they, and they alone, understood. They now entitled the smoky task with the moniker of disrespecting Jebediah. Another year or so passed by on the labyrinth of life's fairways, and Mountain Cap eventually found himself navigating the twists and turns of Shady Pines Country Club with the finesse of a seasoned pro. Armed with his golf clubs, his trusty spreadsheets, and a healthy dose of determination, he tackled each day with the gusto of a golfer eyeing the green from his second shot on a par 5. Amidst the cacophony of golf carts and the symphony of club swings, Mountain began to carve out his niche as the club pro extraordinaire, his presence on the course as reassuring as a perfectly lined-up short putt. With each interaction, he sprinkled humor, turning even the most mundane of tasks into a source of amusement for all of those who were lucky enough to cross his cart path. As the sun dipped below the trees, casting its golden glow upon the rolling fairways of Shady Pines, Mountain's passion for the game burned brighter than ever before. He was akin to a maestro orchestrating a symphony on the golf course, his spreadsheets humming with the precision of a finely tuned instrument. But amidst the hustle and bustle of the country club life, Mountain found himself grappling again with the occasional temptation of the night. Like a moth drawn to the flame, he danced on the edge of excess, towing the line between indulgence and restraint with the finesse of a slightly clumsy tightrope walker. Yet, throughout it all, Mountain remained steadfast in his commitment to keeping his plethora of vices at bay. He was like a captain steering his sturdy ship through the stormiest of seas, with his resolve unwavering in the face of most of life's many temptations. Meanwhile, Johnny Pulaski continued to work his magic as the head groundskeeper at Shady Pines, his green thumb weaving wonders on the once less pristine fairways of the course. Together, he and Mountain remained an indomitable duo, with their antics a source of endless entertainment for the vast majority of the club's ever-growing membership base. And then, as if by some stroke of fate, Mountain's game began to ascend even further, this time to dizzying new heights. With each swing of his mighty club, he felt as if he were tapping into some hidden reservoir of talent, his shots soaring through the air with the grace of a bird in flight. Before long, whispers of Mountain Cap's prowess on the golf course began to echo both far and wide, his name becoming synonymous with victory and triumph. Amateur tournaments fell like dominoes in his wake, with his legend growing with each passing victory. From the sleepy streets of Beanfield to the bustling thoroughfares of neighboring towns, Mountain's star rose like a supernova in the night sky, his presence on the golf course a beacon of hope for golfers across the entire Midwest. And as he now stood atop the podium, with trophy in hand, he could not help but to marvel at the journey that had brought him to this pivotal moment. For Mountain Cap had not just rediscovered his love for the game, he had redefined it, infusing each swing with a passion and vigor that seemed to defy the very laws of physics. And one day, he looked at his Outlook calendar and saw someone new had reserved a golf lesson with him. He looked at the name and wondered if he was quite possibly too high to read it properly. The person who booked the lesson was none other than Austin Graff, his old mentor and friend, who was by now sitting on top of the PGA leaderboards. As the sun rose over the pine trees on the first tee, casting long shadows across the clubhouse lawn, Mountain found himself face to face yet again with his old friend, Austin Graff. There was a weight in the air, a tension that hung between them like a dense fog, thick with both unspoken words and unresolved emotions. "Mountain, buddy, I owe you a colossal apology," Austin began, his voice carrying the weight of 1,000 regrets. "I should have been there for you when you were going through the ringer. But fear got the best of me, my man. I was terrified that your wild ways would derail my path to greatness." Mountain then nodded, with his brow furrowing as he looked at Austin. "Austin, I get it. I really do. But trust me when I say that I was not trying to drag you down with me. I was just lost in the inebriated wilderness of life, trying to find my way." With those words hanging heavy in the air, the tension between them then seemed to dissipate, replaced by a sense of understanding and acceptance. They then embraced in the most masculine way that they knew how to do so, and their friendship was renewed in the flickering light of forgiveness. And as they settled into their cushioned golf cart seats, Austin launched into a tale of his own trials and triumphs on the golf course, his words peppered with humor and humility alike. Mountain listened intently, his laughter mingling with a sound of beer cans opening and raucous conversation. "After all, I am certain that it's 5 o'clock somewhere," Austin quipped, refusing to let his old friend drink alone. "I really want to help you, Mountain," Austin then declared, his eyes shining with determination. "I want to open some doors for you and introduce you to the bigwigs at the PGA. You have got huge talent, my friend, and it's high time that the whole damned world took notice." Another year or so later, with Austin's guidance and support, Mountain found himself standing before the powers of the PGA, his heart pounding with a heady mix of both nerves and excitement. He regaled them with tales of his journey, his words infused with the kind of passion that only comes from a deep love of the game. And then, as if by some stroke of fate, Mountain found himself teeing off in developmental tournaments, his every shot a symphony of skill and determination. And with each swing of the club, he felt the weight of his own dreams bearing down on him and propelling him to new levels of excellence. As yet another year passed, each day was a testament to Mountain's unwavering resolve and unyielding spirit. And then finally, in a moment that seemed to defy all the odds, he stood triumphant, with his PGA Tour card clenched triumphantly in his fist. As he looked out over the lush expanse of the golf course, a sense of gratitude began to wash over him, filling his heart. For Mountain Cap was not just a golfer, he was a boozy-minded survivor, and a bad-assed phoenix rising from the ashes of drug-induced adversity. And as he stepped boldly into the next chapter of his journey, he knew that, for him, the best was yet to come.